Northland, out at the Whangarei Heads. It's a challenging bit of land.
Yes, it can be at times of the year, Rob. It's coastal, can be dry, and also can have a serious amount of rain as well. So yeah, we are challenged, and we've got pastures that you don't see all around the countryside, which are more difficult to manage, and that's kikuyu pastures.
So tell me about the property.
So the property is 550 hectares, of which 235 is dairy platform, and the rest is dairy support, and also we run a dairy beef operation, which we support from taking the calves from the dairy cows to Angus Jersey cross and carry them through to finishing.
So you're spreading your risk.
Yeah, we have spread our risk, but we've also taken advantage of the quality Jersey cross animal that come out of the dairy cows.
Good on you for using jerseys.
It's starting to pick up again. It's getting a bit of momentum again, but you know, they do provide a quality beef animal, and that's not highly recognised. Those that know the animal know that the beef quality that comes out of them and the finishing ability is a really good product.
Do you get a certain amount of marbling with that?
Yes, we are. Yes, and AgResearch did some work a number of years ago, and they utilised some of our animals that looked at the marbling effect. So there is a bit of marbling. It's probably not as much as a Wagyu animal, which is specifically bred for that, but it's a really good balanced meat product.
Now the rainfall, it's pretty varied.
Yeah, so generally we range from 650 mils of rain in a low year to 1100, 1200 in a wet year. So there is a range, and being in the north, we tend to get a little bit more subtropical flow. So particularly this year is an example where the weather patterns have brought more subtropical type flows, and our rain falls tend to be large dumps as opposed to spread evenly across the year. So our challenge is actually managing when the rain falls. So wet winters, dry summers generally, and with subtropical dumps.
And there's humidity.
And humidity, yes. There's a fair amount of that with that subtropical airflows, particularly an easterly pattern like we've had for the last 2 months. A lot of humidity, and which brings in itself flies, facial eczema challenges, bugs of various descriptions. So there's a number of challenges.
What sort of pasture do you use up here?
Yes, this is kikuyu country, and obviously driving a per hectare performance is what we're looking for. So the kikuyu does alter its growing points during the year. It doesn't grow during that early spring period very vigorously, where you're trying to feed a whole lot of newly calved cows. So we use a lot of Italian grasses to fill those holes, but then we use a summer cropping regime and a permanent pasture regime after that to put new varieties of pastures in to fill those gaps.
So what are you using?
Well, we started off using perennial ryegrass, the normal perennial ryegrass makeups of pastures, but we're finding they're not lasting. The kikuyu reverts really quickly over the sort of 2 or 3 year period, and they don't cope with those drier points that we get. So we're looking at alternative species, and we've trended to more fescues and cocksfoots. We've used a little bit of lucerne in the last year, doing a bit of work around legumes. So we're trying to find a pasture that's going to be resilient in terms of those dry points and deeper rooting, and can make use of the moisture that's here and add with the kikuyu. Yep.
I've sort of quietly smiled really, because you enjoyed the SeedForce range so much you ended up working with them.
That's right, it is ironic. We've been working them ever since they started, and I think this year it's 10 years since they've been in operation, and we've been involved for that 10 years. Initially as a trial farm in terms of putting some trials on, and on the seed basis, we've identified through those trials pastures that have actually grown really well here, and so we've pursued those varieties, and that's really important that we identify varieties that grow well in this environment. So from that basis, they provide a product that actually really does suit what we're looking for and suit what the animal's looking for. And we've also had a relationship through a sponsorship arrangement with my son's rally car for a number of years, which was very productive for both of us.
Palatability is just so important.
It's really important, and there are a number of varieties on the market that are just marketed through yield, and yield is one thing, but unless the animal that's eating them wants to eat them and then can turn that into something productive, then you're really wasting your time. So SeedForce, one of their philosophies is that they are actually breeding plant varieties that are that the animal likes to eat and is productive. So that's important to us as well. We get tied up with persistence and having ryegrass species persisting longer, and some of those varieties are inflicted with various ranges of endophytes. Endophytes, yes, they do protect them from insect damage and make them persistent, but some of the varieties are actually, the cows don't enjoy eating, and we've seen evidence of that, and so we've actually steered away from endophyte variety pastures for that reason, because the animals actually don't like eating them, and that's why they persist.
That's a very good sort of an idea. I hadn't thought it persists because they're not being eaten.
Yes, and it persists for two reasons. One is the animal refuses to eat lower than it needs to, and that allows the crown to still survive. But also we've seen evidence of some of the pastures, animals walking around and not wanting to eat it, and they're able to reseed, which allows them to continue to persist and stay in the environment. And that's, I suppose, why the purest wild endophyte is so persistent, in that it's actually not very palatable to an animal. So that's why it stays there. So in terms of plant breeding, I've identified endophytes that both protect from insects but also give that bit of survival.
So finally, Murray, the industry where it is, I guess you're going to have to work smarter rather than harder.
Yeah, we're in a tough period of time at the moment. The world prices are under pressure, and commodity prices are under pressure with oversupply around the world. We need to be really smart in terms of, one, what we do on farm, to reinforce our pasture-based system to ensure that we're actually leveraging the most we can out of what we grow, and that's a little bit what we try to do in terms of the varieties and the species we plant. So we need to come back to the basic fundamentals, go back to our basic fundamentals on how we operate and what made us efficient in the first place. But also in terms of a marketing arm, we need to be smart in terms of capturing all the high value markets we can capture, and also protect our brand and market who we are and what we produce, as opposed to just be commodity traders on the market with everybody else.